Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel and this amazing video. I'm Aditya. In this video, I want to show you some quick 5 view 3 tips. So without any further ado, let's begin. So here I have a header, which is this blue bar over here. And inside that I have a drop down, which is this component. And this about will show it's like a drop down where we have us and company. And this is more of a reusable component. So how can we make a reusable drop down where we have click outside functionality? So what we could do is we can create a component like this where we have this title. So the about will come over here and we have the container, which will show our drop down items. So us and company are those items and the wrapper around it is the drop down wrapper or the container wrapper, you could say. So this is the main container wrapper and this is the drop down content container wrapper. Now what we want is whenever someone click outside of this div should hide. So what we have done, I have created a simple composable, which is reusable, which keeps track of whether the element is clicked or whenever the clicks happen, whether that click happened inside that container or inside that element, or it happened outside of that element. Now, let me explain you what's here. So we have a ref, which is just stating like a Boolean ref just to state whether the click was inside or outside. And we have on-mounted and unmounted hooks. Now, why do we need this? This, as we are assigning or attaching a event listener on our window, we just need to make sure when the component unmounts that event listener is removed just to avoid some memory leaks. Now, once we have this event listener attached, what they are doing whenever there's a mouse down event, that means whenever someone like click down, then at that time it will handle the function that we are saying. So this handle outside function is just going to check certain values. Now first it's going to check, okay, when you are clicking on that element, is it a component reference or is it an element reference? Let me show you what do I mean. Now when I pass ref on HTML like this, it's a HTML reference. But when I pass it on component, let's say this was a component, something like div, then on that case, this becomes ref on component and we need to handle that scenario differently. So to keep that reusable as well or keep that flexibility, we will add another variable in our argument saying that, okay, whether the element we have passed is a component reference or not. Now we are passing the entire ref just to avoid to have our own watchers. So we'll just pass that ref as it is. And then we will say, okay, whenever if it's not a component, then we check for element.value because there we will have our HTML element. And if that element contains the target we have clicked. So whenever we click on this, if any of those elements are part of that container, if they are part of it, that means we are clicking inside. Now same goes over here. If it's a component, then we need to target the $element of the value because there we have our actual HTML element. Now if it's not inside, then it will go to the here, like it will say, okay, you clicked outside. So this will become false. Now, if we go to our drop down, we have just use it as a composable, like how we use normal composables, importing it. And then we pass our element, which is, sorry, the reference, which is drop down. And here we say, okay, whatever is that inside, we are reference or we are aliasing it with show. So here I'm going to say show that if this is true and also show it when you toggle this. So let me show you. If I click outside, show becomes false. If I click on it, show becomes true. So this is how you can have reusable click outside composable and a drop down as well. Now my second tip is creating a reusable list. Now generally creating a reusable list sometimes becomes super painful. So for that we can use the power of passing data to slots like this. So what we have is, okay, we have the UL and we have the li tags associated with that UL, and we will use v for by passing like whatever data we want to iterate, we'll pass it as a prop to this list. And each item, we will pass it to our slot. And through the slot, we will access that item so that we can show it or we can like see if that item is worth displaying. So for that case, what we are doing is, so ideally we would have something like this. Let's say if this was a normal component, it would be something like this. Something like this, you will have UL and to do item would be your li tag instead of div tag here. So you will have something like this. You will have v for and then key and etc. etc. But what we could do is we can create a reusable list, and to that list we can pass the prop, which will be our to-dos, and that will be reiterated inside that list item. And then we can access the each item that the slot has access to using vslot on the parent, and then we can pass that to the to do item over here. So that becomes more cleaner. And also we have a reusable list, and it's not just for list, but you can have a reusable component like this. Wherever you want to pass data to the slot, you can catch it at the parent level over here at the list level. So you cannot have vslot on the child, but you need to have it on the parent. So we have vslot item and we pass it to the to do item. Now the next step is very much similar to what we do through emit. Like we have an event emitted from the child so that we can run a function in parent. But what if we can pass that function straight to the child and have it run straight inside the child? Let me show you an example. So this to-do list is a parent. Inside that we have this to-do item as a child. Now we want this removed function to run inside this to-do item. So indirectly what we are saying is whenever something happens inside this to-do item, we want to run this function. Now we can do this with emit, but the other way is where we can pass function as a prop. So to this to-do item, we have a prop over here, which is a remove, and it's of type of function. Then whenever someone clicks on this red icon, we want to run this remove function. Now this remove function is the child's remove function, while this remove function is the parent's remove function. So what we are doing is, okay, we are running the child's remove function as it is, and then we are saying, okay, now time to run the parent's function. You can also change the sequence according to your circumstance, but in my case, I just want to run it after the child function is run. So here, okay, so to do prop dot remove. Now this remove refers to the function that I'm passing from the parent, and whatever I pass, like whatever code I write here, that will run inside here with the value of to do prop dot to do dot id. So in general, I'm just saying that, okay, whenever a to do is removed, just alert it with an id, like a simple pop-up. So let's see that in action. So if I click this, so there we go, we have removed one. Now if we remove the other one, we have the remove 2. If we remove the other one, we have remove 3. So this way you can run or pass a prop to the child as a function, and then you can run that function inside the child component. Now the next step is, how can we submit the form by pressing enter key, as well as how can we have the functionality of when we press enter key, it goes to the next element, or it can focus on the next element. Now generally there are various ways to do it, but let's take an example. Like a typical example, we have a form which has the submit function. So we don't want to lose the actual functionality of submission for that form as well. And also on the other hand, we have a key press event been looked for this input. So what I'm doing is when I press enter, it goes to the next text area. And when I press enter here, of course, for text area, you need new line. So you shouldn't have that enter thing. And here, whenever I click submit, it will submit the form. I haven't done any validation, but the idea here is you click the submit button, then only it submits the form. Or when you go on that submit button and hit enter, you submit a form. That means you want to you're ready for submit. So enter key submit is also there. So how can we achieve this? Well, pretty simple. All we need to do, wherever we have our input, wherever we want that input enter, like for that input to listen for an enter key and go for a next one, we just add this event listener with @key press, and we say dot enter. That means we are looking for the enter key, only enter key. And then when someone press enter key on that, we need to run a function, which is handle next. At the same time, we have submit.prevent to submit the form with handle submit function. And what I have done here is, if you notice, I have a div and then I have another div. So I cannot straight away target the next sibling of this element, because the next sibling of this element, like there is no sibling for this. So how can we target this? There are again couple of ways. The best way I could think of in this scenario is using the data index property. So what I could do is, okay, the next would have the data index of 2. So I just need to keep this sequence and use this data index. And what I'm going to do is, in that handle next, I'm going to get the index of the current target. So the index of the current target can be get from the e.target.dataset.index. Now this is going to be string. So we need to parse it to an int. Otherwise it will become a string concatenation, like 1 + 1 will become 11. So for that we need to convert it into a number. and then we add 1 to it. And then we are saying, okay, from that form element, from that value, like form element dot value would be, we have a reference on this form. So ref as form element. And then from that, we just want to select the element which has the data index of 2. And that would be our text area in this case over here. And then we will say, okay, just focus on that. And then it will be focused. So if we go back here, press enter, you'll see it goes on the next. Now, how we can make sure that when the button is focused, then and then only submit it. So here I'm going to put a focused on the button, and I'm going to say @focused. Whenever the button is focused, that means the button is focused and we are good for submission. So in handle submit, I just need to say, okay, whenever someone focus on the button, submit it. But if no one focuses it, just don't do anything, just return from there. So we also need to put here another case, which is blur. So in case if, let's say I focus on the button like this, so it's going to become true. And if I go back over here, hit enter, so it should keep on moving forward, because if the focus is true on this, it will submit it. Now the final tip is lazy loading the component. For instance, if you see on this home page, we have these two components, that's fine, but we are eager loading it. And when you eager load component, the final bundle size increases as well. So to avoid that increase in size, we can lazy load it. And it's pretty simple. All we need to do is define async component. So import define async component from view, and then we can lazy load these two components. I'm going to say const form and then also const to do list. So what we have done is, instead of doing import to do list from something, we are saying, okay, define async component, and that will take a function, and the return value of the function is going to be a function again, which is the import function. And that import function will take the path of our component. Now, if we remove this, everything works fine. There is no problem, but it reduces our bundle size and it makes it a bit faster as well. That's all those 5 tips I have to share with you. If you have any more tips, feel free to put down in the comment section. And also, if you feel this video is worth a like, please do hit the like button. If you feel this video is worth share, please do share with your network. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe to my channel. So see you in the next video. Till the next time, goodbye.